Oh, hey Linda, what up? I just wanted to get back to you about the thing you asked me about when we had brunch last Friday. You asked me about some Dark Academia full book recommendations that you have in fact not heard about a billion times on BookTube. Well, girl, I did some digging and I completely got you. So let's sit down, grab your coffee, and let me just walk you through these real quick before we head out again, okay? So girl, believe me, this first book, it might not be dark academia as in like there's no academic setting, but it is spooky and therefore it is perfect for the full time. The book I'm talking about is The Silent Companions by, I think it's Laura Purcell, is that right? Girl, I read it last year and let me tell you, I was spooked. I also gave it to my mom and she was like, why the fuck did you give me this book? It was so scary. Though it's not horror scary though. I mean, I haven't really read any full-on horror books, so what do I know? But it has this gothic eerie vibe. It is about a young woman who has just become a widow. She's going to this countryside estate that she inherited from her now dead husband. I believe he like died only like 4 days after they got married or something. So basically she's going there for the first time without her husband because he has died. And obviously this landside manor, it do be hella creepy. All the people working there do be hella creepy. And what is the creepiest of it all? Well, if you couldn't tell by the title, it is these silent companions all around the house. What is a silent companion? I didn't know myself before I picked up this book. Silent companions are these creepy ass, basically mid-century version of cardboard cutouts that we have today. You know, sometimes how, I know, cafes or whatever have like these cardboard cutouts of like idols, K-pop idols standing around. Well, it's kind of like that, but it's better quality because it's like made out of wood and canvas, etc. But basically these little fuckers are all around the house and obviously they're creeping our girl out as fuck. So she has them banned to the attic to not see them every day because do you want to have the creeps all day long? No, you don't. But even though she banned them to the attic, these silent companions, they suddenly pop up again all over the house. And is this a sign of our main protagonist going kind of crazy, or are there more sinister, maybe supernatural things going on? This book truly delivered on the vibes, the creepiness, the gothiness. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the most underrated creepy fall recommendations I could possibly give you, so you're welcome. Next up, a book I think gets seriously overlooked, even though it might be my favorite dark academia, is A Lesson in Vengeance. A Lesson in Vengeance, as a lot of these dark academia books, takes place at this very prestigious private institution. This is a school, not a university, if I remember correctly. And we learn that our main protagonist, she's going back to that school after having been absent for a year, and we slowly learn the backstory of why she has been absent. It is more specifically because her roommate, or like one of her housemates, has died the past semester, and obviously that kind of messed with her. She needed some time away, so she stayed away for a semester or like for a year, and now she's coming back. And I think, if I remember correctly, it is kind of constructed in a dual timeline kind of thing, as in we get flashback chapters and we learn what happened back then, who this housemate roommate was, who died, how they died, etc. And at the same time, they're also, I mean, to be fair, though, I don't even think it's been that long that I read this book. I think I read it in March, but because I read so much, things got blurry. But I know I loved this book and I know it delivered all the vibes I wanted. So basically, I think at the same time we learn, or like we uncover what happened in the past, how her roommate died, and at the same time there's of course some creepy stuff going on in the present time, and we kind of mix those two things together, and it was hella vibey. I know for the entirety of the book, and I'm not gonna spoil it here, so don't worry, but for the entirety of the book, up until like once it gets fully revealed, I wasn't sure whether this book would add on, like whether there are supernatural elements in the world that this book takes place in or not. You never know if our main protagonist is imagining things, only seeing things, because she's of course still freaked out going back to this place where her friend died, etc. Or are there actual supernatural things going on? For the entirety of the book, I was not sure where the book stood and on that line, and I'm not going to spoil it for you right now, partly because I don't really remember, though no, I think I do remember. But yeah, A Lesson in Vengeance, for sure one of my favorite dark academia books that does not get recommended a whole ton, I think. Anyway, next up, what I want to recommend to you, Linda, is Catherine House. This is again actually one of your quintessential dark academia books, as Have you already guessed it? It's taking place at this private, remote, super prestigious institution. This time, oh no, it's actually not a university again. It is kind of like a high school kind of thing, but it's not your normal high school, obviously. Otherwise, it would not be that fancy and creepy. So Catherine House is special in the fact that while the students are studying there for like, what, 3 years or something, they do not have any contact with the outside world. They are not allowed to communicate with anyone outside. There's no like Twitter, Instagram, whatever. That's not a thing. And of course, we kind of wonder, okay, why is that so important for the school other than just like harboring this academic setting with no distractions? And other than that, also we learn that apparently there are like weird experiments being done at this school. We also learn about the highly weird, highly questionable forms of punishment they execute on students if they misstep, basically. So that's that. I will be completely frank though, personally this was not my favorite. I still want to like recommend it, as I think the book completely fits the dark academia niche, but I barely hear it being recommended by anyone. I personally didn't love it because I didn't connect with the main character at all. Like, I didn't care about her one bit or any of the other characters, and in that sense alone I was like, I don't really care what's happening here and what's happening to you specifically. So there goes that. But maybe you will like them more, like either the protagonist or any of the other people. Also, like the concept as I just like describe it, like, okay, weird experiments and we learn, or like we slowly figure out what is going on, and there's like mind manipulation and all of that. In my eyes, like the premise of the book sounded more exciting than the actual execution was. So I wasn't, because the premise sounds cool, sounds fascinating, I'm like, yeah, sure, that could be a really good book. But personally, I was not a fan of how the author actually then developed this storyline. But hey, maybe you will feel differently about it, so I still want to tell you about it. Okay, another not just book but series I can recommend you is the A Study in Charlotte series. I don't quite know what the other parts are called, but this is a story that focuses on the descendants of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. Basically, the protagonist in the series is Charlotte Holmes, so the female descendant of Holmes. I think he was supposed to be either her grandfather or like great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, so like not a direct descendant as in like Sherlock Holmes as her daddy, but we have like some family ties to the most iconic detective of all times, of course. And now Charlotte Holmes, she goes to this prestigious boarding school, wouldn't you know, and whom does she meet there? Well, it is, wait, what's his name? Is his name, I think, Jamie Watson, and he's of course the descendant of John Watson. And at first I think they don't really like each other, but then they start to collaborate, and of course it's about like solving a mystery, etc. Something I want to disclaim about maybe not the first book in particular, but about the entire series. Again, I don't believe it maybe came up necessarily within the first book, but I know it became a theme in the later parts, is sexual assault is heavily featured in this book as like the protagonist has some past trauma with that. And I just want to point that out because you might not expect that heading into what is ostensibly like just like goofy little YA series about the descendants of Holmes and Watson. So that's just something I want to let you know. So proceed at your own risk and at your own discretion. But again, because it is centered around this prestigious boarding school, and we have our two descendants of sleuths who have sleuths themselves, and I don't really remember the case anymore if I'm being honest, but of course they like start working on a case together. So we have again these usual dark academia setups with like the school, the murder, the investigation, etc. Mix in with that a little, I guess you could describe it as enemies to lovers, because I know starting at the beginning of the series, these two don't like each other. But then of course they start to. Anyway, that's that. Sticking to the theme of kind of like YA middle grade series, I also want to recommend the Murder Most Unladylike series. I guess, yeah, maybe it's not fully dark academia, but it is in a sense, as this is also about two girl detectives investigating murder cases at their private boarding school. So you have the school and you have the murder. But if I remember correctly, I mean, some of the cases, I think there are like 9 books in total, and some of them take place in different places all around the world, like during their semester breaks when they're like traveling somewhere like in China, or while they're in London or something like that. But a lot of the cases, I would say at least 3 or 4 take place while they're at school. Well, now I don't remember if that was during like the summer semester or during the fall semester, so maybe the dark academia vibes would not be fully there as in it taking place during fall. But because you have the school setting and the cozy murder mysteries, I still want to recommend you the series in total. I really love it. Yes, it is like YA, if not even middle grade, to be honest, but I find it super heartwarming. I really loved every single part. My favorite part is actually the mistletoe and murder. I think that's the 5th part, and as you can tell by the name, this is taking place during Christmas season. So you can maybe first check out, like the first part I know it takes place during school. The 2nd and 3rd, I'm pretty sure take place somewhere else. I think the 4th also takes place during school. Then this is the 5th. And the 6th is taking place in London. I think like the 8th or something is also taking place during school. So just like do a bit of research, but I mean, obviously maybe start off with book number 1. And if you find yourself liking it, you can wait a few weeks more and then read Mistletoe and Murder during the Christmas season. That would be a really fitting vibe. Anyway, okay. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about some books that I have not myself read yet. So I can't like give you a fully comprehensive review on them, but I can't wait to pick these books up, but I currently can't because for each of them, there's like a hell of a long waiting list on Libby. So I might not get around to like reading them while it is still full, because the average of these waiting lists is like 8 weeks. So I will probably only get them once we're more in the winter territory, let's just say it like that. But there's still a lot of books that I'm really excited to read, and I think they really fit the like October, November, again, kind of like cozy murder mystery, or like maybe not cozy, but cozy or either creepy murder mystery thriller kind of vibe. I have not read these books as I just said. These just piqued my interest when I heard about them. I have not heard a lot of other people talk about them, so I just want to tell you about them. And yeah, you will just have to do a little more research on your own, as I cannot give you like a full overview over like the plot and whether I like these books because I have not read them yet. Okay, so the first book is called These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Ellis Marshall. I will just read you like the synopsis, but apparently this is like a mixture of Haunting of Hill House meets Knives Out. And do you seriously need more reasons to want to pick up this book? Personally, I didn't. I only heard that descriptor and that made me want to pick up the book. I haven't even read the rest of the synopsis yet, so this will be like a first thing for the two of us, Linda. Okay, Helen Vaughn doesn't know why she and her mother left their ancestral home of Harrowstone Hall called Harrow, or why they haven't spoken to their extended family since. So when her grandfather dies, she's shocked to learn that he has left her everything. It's giving, well, yeah, either Knives Out or inheritance games. The house, the grounds, and the money. The inheritance comes with one condition. She must stay on the grounds of Harrow for 1 full year, or she will be left with nothing. Okay, that is exactly the setup of the inheritance games. Okay, there's more at stake than money though. For as long as she can remember, Harrow has haunted Helen's dreams, and now those dreams have become a waking nightmare. Helen knows that if she's going to survive the year, she needs to uncover the secrets of Harrow. Why is the house built like a labyrinth? What is digging the holes that appear in the woods each night? And why does the house itself seem to be making her sick? That sounds amazing. Come on, like, but currently I would have to wait, yes, 8 weeks until I can read this book. And I can't even actively put it on my like waiting list yet, because right now at this moment, my waiting list is full. Anyway, another a book, this is maybe not per se giving autumn vibes, but I really want to pick it up soon, is American Psycho. I had only heard about the movie so far. I haven't watched the movie, but like recently on Instagram, some like just pictures of the movie have been shown to me. I don't know what that's about, but then I found out that the movie is actually based on the book, and now I really want to read the book. And as it is about this well, horror serial killer, is that right? In that sense, it is still giving me these like autumn vibes, because anything to do with murder fits the autumn scheme. You know it, Linda. Don't even argue with me on that one. So the brief synopsis of this, again, I haven't even read this myself. I don't really know anything about the book except for, well, it's about an American psycho who like starts killing all these people. I don't know. Patrick Bateman moves among the young and trendy in 1980s Manhattan. Young, handsome, and well-educated, Bateman earns his fortune on Wall Street by day while spending his nights in ways we cannot begin to fathom. Expressing his true self through torture and murder, Bateman prefigures an apocalyptic horror that no society could bear to confront. It sounds spooky, it sounds scary, it sounds, well, psycho, so proceed at your own risk. But I kind of like, I have been triggered by these pictures that have been posted on my Instagram, and now I really want to read this book. Another book is called The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentil. And apparently this is a bit of a meta story, as it is both about a woman sitting in a library, writing a mystery about a woman sitting in a library, and then things happen. But I guess the entire time you're kind of like, okay, wait, is this happening in real life or is this happening in her story? And it gets very meta, as I just said. And I mean, is there a murder happening? I think it is. Let me read it to you. The tranquility is shattered by a woman's terrified scream. Security guards take charge immediately, instructing everyone inside to stay put until the threat is identified and contained. While they wait for the all clear, 4 strangers who'd happen to sit at the same table in the library pass the time in conversation, and friendships are struck. Each has his or her own reasons for being in the reading room that morning. It just happens that one is a murderer. I love it. Like, all of these books I'm telling you about today are so good. And especially the ones that I haven't read yet. I want to read so badly, but I have to wait so long. It's so unfair. Now, this is a book now more and more booktubers start to talk about, so maybe you have actually heard about it. And that is Carmilla, which is apparently the original, well, Dracula vampire story. And like, Dracula got inspired by Carmilla, but so apparently Carmilla came first and then Dracula came, but now everybody's only talking about Dracula, and that's not fair. And apparently Carmilla is about, well, a female vampire, and that sounds amazing in itself. So again, here's the synopsis. Steeped in the sexual tension between 2 young women, okay, so it might even be a sapphic vampire story. This is a beautiful brand new edition of the original cult classic, which influenced Dracula and all the vampire stories that followed. In an isolated castle deep in the Austrian forest, teenage Laura leads a solitary life with only her father, attendant and tutor for company. Only one moonlit night, a horse-drawn carriage crashes into view, carrying an unexpected guest, the beautiful Carmilla. So begins a feverish friendship between Laura and her entrancing new companion, one defined by mysterious happenings and infused with an implicit but undeniable eroticism. As Carmilla becomes increasingly strange and volatile, prone to eerie nocturnal wanderings, Laura finds herself tormented by nightmares and growing weaker by the day. I don't even have to say anything else. Like, you're already convinced. I can see it in your eyes, Linda. You already want to pick up these books yourself. Don't even lie about it. And now only 2 more books I want to talk about. One of them is A Dowry of Blood. I heard about this via Emmy. I don't even know if this is a book or a short story collection, so let's read the synopsis together. But the cover art in itself is already giving all the Victorian, haunted, creepy, bloody vibes you could possibly ask for during the autumn season. A lyrical and dreamy reimagination of Dracula's Bride, A Dowry of Blood is a story of desire, obsession, and emancipation. Saved from the brink of death by a mysterious stranger, Constanta is transformed from a medieval peasant into a bride fit for an undying king. When Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat and a starving artist into his web of passion and deceit, Constanta realizes that her beloved is capable of terrible things. Finding comfort in the arms of a rival consort, she begins to unravel their husband's dark secrets. So I guess when they marry him, they're not aware of the fact that he's a vampire? With the lives of everyone she loves on the line, Constanta will have to choose between her own freedom and her love for her husband. But bonds forged by blood can only be broken by death. Oh, and there's like a little disclaimer at the bottom that says contains mature themes. Are they talking about sex scenes? I'm not sure. Imagine, like, if that had to be a disclaimer for like all the romance books, Colleen Hoover's section would be full of that sentence. Anyway, and now, last but not least, this is another book by the same author of The Silent Companions. And because I loved The Silent Companions so much, I also want to read now this other book by her. It's called The House of Whispers. A gothic tale set in a rambling house by the sea in which a maid cares for a mute old woman with a mysterious past alongside her superstitious staff. A perfect spooky read. Okay. Consumption has ravaged Louise Pinecroft's family, leaving her and her father alone and heartbroken. But Dr. Pinecroft has plans for a revolutionary experiment. Convinced that sea air will prove to be the cure his wife and children needed, he arranges to house a group of prisoners suffering from the disease in the caves beneath his Cornish house? What the fuck? While he devotes himself to his controversial medical trials, Louise finds herself increasingly discomforted by the strange tales her new maid tells her of the fairies that hunt the land, searching for those they can steal away to their realm. 40 years later, Hester arrives at Morvoran House to take up a position as nurse to the now partially paralyzed and mute Miss Pinecroft. Hester has fled to Cornwall to try to escape her past, but surrounded by superstitious staff enacting bizarre rituals, she soon discovers her new home may be just as dangerous as her last. Oh my god, all of these sound so vibey and so perfect for these coming weeks. I truly hope that you can pick any of these books up, and I also truly hope that you found something new in here. I really believe that these are books that are not commonly talked about in any like dark academia or full recommendation videos, so I hope I really helped you out there. I am so looking forward to reading these books myself, especially like the ones I haven't read yet, obviously. But alas, enough about that, Linda. Now let's head out because we got a coffee to grab, don't we? Okay, come on girl, let's go.